Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And good evening. Once again, I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. And we are still talking about crowdfunding comics, but we are moving on to a new title. We are looking at the Daughters of Vengeance from Hardcastle Comics. And with us, we have Indie Dave. Dave, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. How's yourself?
I'm feeling pretty up there right now. Just was talking with Brian Christgau about Six Gun Gorilla, so
Brian's a cool guy. That book, I got that book. That's a really good book.
Well, I've got to catch up apparently. And Rare Logic is with us. Rare Logic, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm two thumbs up, and if I was feeling any better, my company would probably have me sent out for random testing. So I've got to bring your page up here, but what can you tell us about, Daughters of Vengeance? It looks like other than kick-ass women kicking ass.
We'll give you the real skinny. It's hot biker chicks fighting werewolves.
Oh, I love it already.
That's the tagline. But no, it's a book about really sisterhood, werewolves, adventure and action. A little bit of blood. We got basically it's the story of Amber, who on the picture next to me, she's the redhead all the way on the left. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, she's the redhead, and basically her family was killed by a werewolf, and she was almost killed by a werewolf, but was saved by one of the Daughters of Vengeance. But she got scratched. And so she was taken so they could basically treat the wound to try to keep her from turning into a werewolf. But it turns out that her family has a relationship with werewolves that she didn't know about. So it's going to be all about basically her getting a new family with the daughters, and then basically trying to see if there's a place for her in werewolf community.
So this is going to hit, perfectly with all the paranormal romance fans that have been out there for the last 10 years that look for that kind of thing. And one of the things that's unique about this is, first of all, I can't find an Indiegogo on it.
Right now, we are in the preliminary stage. I've been on some and seen some other Indiegogo on one. I'm actually the writer for Oddity. And
okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it right out right now. We're really late on that book, and we're trying to avoid all of the same kind of problems that we had with being late with an Indiegogo. So what we're going to do is our artist, Art Sider, we're going to pay him to do all the line work on the book. And then when we're ready to launch the Indiegogo, then that will cover colors and printing and any kind of stretch goals we decide we're going to have. We're trying to build a small company here with Hardcastle Comics, and that's one of the things we want to do is we want to start off right and make sure that everybody, one of the things is just getting your books on time and getting a good book.
So you do have a web page, which is Hardcastle Comics, which I just put out into the chat there, where people will find out a little bit more about the characters. And I'm just kind of looking at the pinups here. I just by looking at the pinup here, not the little one behind you, she's a big girl.
That's our girl, Georgia. Georgia is basically we'll tell you a little bit about the characters now. Georgia is basically our She-Hulk. She's big and she's strong, and she's a Texas Belle and kind of a party girl. But if you mess with her friends, then she's going to be Mama Bear. And all the way on the right on that picture is Julieta, and her family, she's been fighting supernatural things her whole life. Her whole family's into it. Her and her brother and her parents and everything. And the other girl is Alicia, who's the leader, and she is essentially a witch doctor. Her thing is like Julietta's thing's knives. Her thing is guns, but she's actually a magical healer, and she's in charge of the Daughters of. She's the leader of the Daughters of Vengeance.
All right, and then of course the anime girl.
the girl on the left, yeah, that's Amber, and she's the one who. And the story will focus mostly around her because everything that happens. She has kind of a bond. We try to put a bonding moment with every character with her to build that kind of sisterhood feeling for it. But she was the first one attacked, and she's got the family that's got kind of the backstory with werewolves. In our book, we call the werewolves the Fenris because they were all they come from Norse origins. So the werewolf origin is going to be in there. We're going to have a lot of lore. We're going to beef up some of the action, and we're going to build a relationship between the girls. You look, we're not going woke. There's no woke thing, but we've got nice organic diversity going on. None of this. There's not going to be any of this lesbian man-hating stuff going on. It's going to be a straight story about heroes fighting the bad guys, saving the girl, and doing the hero thing.
Yeah, you're straddling the fence. So you've got the diversity, but they have no organs, so everybody's happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, that's why we're saying hot chicks fighting werewolves.
There you go.
But we got that heart in there, and we're building a good, rich story. And like I said, we're showing, and there's nothing political about the book. We're not making any kind of anti-woke statement or pro-woke statement or any of that. None of that's going to be in the book. It's straight up just the story. Everything, like I said, we got the diversity is organic. Everything is just, it's all about the story and all about building good characters without bringing up everybody's race or whatnot.
I'm trying to get my backlight here to be. I bought this stupid little clip-on backlight thing, thinking I was going to get away with a light for $6 at Walmart here. Yeah, all it does is make me look demonic in my glasses. So you've got this title, but you've also got a house, an imprint with Hardcastle Comics, which leads me to believe that you're going to not only continue this as a series, but have more series under the same house.
Our goal is this is going to be a 3-parter. The next one is going to be, and I haven't written it yet, but we got the basics. We're working on the basic storyline. The next book will be the Retribution Brothers, and that will be basically in the same universe, and it'll be the same type of deal. Only this will be a group of guys, and this one's going to be probably more of Fast and Furious as opposed to Sons of Anarchy, which is kind of sort of where we're leaning with this. But I mean, we're not really pushing on biker gang stuff, but I mean, they're biker chicks. And the next one there'll be more car guys, and I think we're probably going to move on to vampires with them, and then they're going to show up in this book a little bit, and then the third book is going to be everybody together fighting the big bad. Okay.
Now, with Oddity, I know that you had a lot of layers on that thing, and I'm good friends with George Peter Gatsis, so I've been. Yeah. I saw several of the steps done.
George's a good guy. He's helped us out a little bit with that book, actually.
He's helped a lot of people out with their books and with their 3D prints. Given that you did that, I'm wondering, are you thinking about doing something with your campaign for the Daughters of Vengeance? Because it occurs to me, as I'm saying this, that one of the things that a lot of companies do mainstream when they have a character, specifically one who has a vehicle, they produce the vehicle, a rolling Batmobile or a flying spaceship, what have you. Are you thinking about doing character sets of the girls on motorcycles that might roll?
We're gonna keep this one really bare bones. We're probably only gonna have one cover. We want to make sure the book gets out. And the important thing is to get the art, get the book out. If it builds enough popularity that justifies it, then definitely I'm all for toys and doing whatever. But we're going to keep this campaign pretty bare bones, pretty simple. We're going to try to keep the price down. I want to probably keep it. The average is like $25 usually, and we're going to try to keep it down below that if we can. So for this first campaign, we really want to build customer confidence in the brand, and put out a good book so that they'll come back for the next books.
So what kind of a page count are you looking at on this book? And is it going to be like multiple issues?
About 48, 50 pages, something right around there.
Oh, okay. So that's going to be a pretty hefty volume.
Yeah.
Is that like issue number 1, or is that like?
Yeah, that'll be issue 1. That'll be Daughters of Vengeance, and we'll probably stick with that for the next books. And then when everything's published, maybe we'll put together one big book of all 3 with the story in it.
All right. Do you have a launch date yet?
Not yet. I'm gonna wait till he gets all the line work done. He's been on schedule pretty good. The artist is awesome, Art Sider. I wish I could get him on. He lives in India, so his schedule's way different than ours. Most of the time when I get updates from him, it's like 3 a.m. So
yeah. You send a note, you'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but he's really responsive to. I think we work really well together. He's really responsive. There's not a lot of criticism I give him, but there's stuff like, oh, maybe we should do this on this panel or that kind of, and he's really responsive, and he's really cool.
All right. Well, let's find out what both of you guys do here, because I know that you're the writer, Dave. Rare
Yes.
Logic, where do you come into the show at?
I get fired a lot. That's my job.
That's your job is to get fired. Okay.
I'm helping with editing. I'm probably going to be doing the lettering. Dave gets stuck on something. I'll throw 1,000 ideas at him, and then he moves along with it.
So you're the important one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Yeah.
Until I get fired.
Well,
she does the majority of the heavy lifting, other than the artwork stuff.
I will tell you, I've read more than my fair share of indie comics that have come through crowdfunding, where the creator has said, "I'm the creator. Here's my story," and boy, you really could have used an editor.
Yeah. Well, she's great for bouncing ideas, especially since I'm writing all women characters. So she's great to bounce ideas off of. And like I said, she's got great input, and she's really valuable to the project.
You're married, aren't you?
No, we are not.
Okay.
We are not married.
Because I'm
Don't curse at me like that.
No, we actually we met. She did some of the graphics for the oddity page, for some of the perks. She did some of the graphics for that. She volunteered to help out. We met then, and we bounced ideas back and forth. And then I think I was actually talking to George one day, and she was in on the conversation. She happened to be there, and I brought up the Daughters of Vengeance thing, and I brought up the idea, and she was really excited about it. So excited, she's paying for half the book.
Oh well,
That's her other contribution.
You definitely want those people on board if they bring money,
Yeah,
That's what I'm good for. I see how it is.
But I mean, that money really. I take her serious anyway. But as that kind of vital part of the book, she has that kind of input, it's great. She keeps me on my toes, and she kind of lets me know, and maybe that's not going to work, for this or that, which is fine. I totally respect it.
Right. So we talked about how this is going to be well received by the people who are into that whole paranormal romance, the underworld people. At the same time, when you had the idea for this, how did you go about making this something that was going to be different from the other 8011 vampires and werewolves urban fantasy stuff that's out there?
So there's no like romance really. I mean, yeah, there's no romance really. It's instead of about relationships, as far as like romantic relationships, it's about, like I said, sisterhood. So it's really about family and that kind of thing. And Amber's really going to be torn between sticking with the Daughters of Vengeance and going off with the werewolves. That's going to be a real struggle for her. she's really going to be kind of pulled in both directions. So it's I wanted the story to be really solid as far as all that goes. The original Daughters of Vengeance started when I was in high school. I used to do a lot of little doodles in my notebook and stuff. I don't really draw now, but I would do a lot of little doodles in my notebook, and it was all like silly, ridiculous stuff. And the original idea was it was going to be Grindhouse, like two girls and these freaking gang members killed their father, and they were going to go get vengeance on them. And the two people in my head I had was Fiona Apple and Alanis Morissette was going to be the Daughters of Vengeance. I mean, as I was a high school kid, I never thought it would ever amount to anything. It was just like a cool title. And I was like, okay, well, what would be on a Daughters of Vengeance movie? And that was the original plot back 20 years ago. And then lately I brought it up again, and the werewolf thing kind of happened. And I was like, oh, biker chicks, werewolves. And I was like, okay, I could put something together for this. And then I started building the characters. And once the characters get more fleshed out, they take kind of a life of their own.
Yeah, the thing that intrigues me about Amber is that she stands out from the rest in that there is nothing about her appearance-wise that says, I'm a biker chick, and there's nothing about her appearance-wise that said, I'm a werewolf.
Yes.
Looks like she's going
right
to
now,
put into both.
We're working on her werewolf design where she's going to come out, and that's going to be cool. That's going to be a big moment for her is when she does her werewolf thing.
You're going to see her go through a series of changes through the book and see her evolve from basically what you see behind Dave right now to what's coming.
Yeah, basically she was like a 19-year-old kid living with her parents. Then this big thing happens, and she's been kind of sheltered her whole life, this sheltered teenager, and then all this stuff just gets dumped on her at once.
So you mentioned you're going to have basically 3 titles under the imprint here, which is the Daughters of Vengeance, not the Sons of Anarchy, but Sons of Retribution.
Retribution Brothers will be the next.
Retribution Brothers. Thank you.
And then, yes, and the third one will have both of them, and the third one's going to be a big one.
Yeah, well, the third one sounds like it's going to be like a crossover book.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas these will be series.
Yeah, both of the first 2 books directly lead into there's going to be little hints and stuff in each of the books that leads to the final third book.
Lots of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So end with that book and then you come up with some new titles, or are you going to like keep the Daughters of Vengeance and the other books going as ongoing series?
If I come up with new stories, I'll definitely keep it going. What we want to do as a publisher is eventually move away from the crowdfunding. We want to get popular enough, make enough money where we can self-fund the books and maybe put them on the website. Maybe we can do floppies and put them in stores. I don't know how long stores are going to last as far as that goes. So, I mean, at the very least, we'd like to have our own imprint, put out our books, and then if we can. I have this whole plan about poaching other people's Indiegogos. Basically, I would go to a creator. I would say, "Hey, your book looks really cool. We'd like to do floppies of your book. So when your Indiegogo's done and you've made your money, if you're interested, come to us. And for that we need to build a distribution system and places where we want the book to go, or put it on our website or whatever." And then we would take a little bit, but we would pay for all the printing and the shipping and that kind of stuff. And that's where I would like Hardcastle eventually to go, to be kind of I don't know exactly how the Image works their contracts, but sort of like an Image. You can come to us, or I'll poach you, and we'll take a little bit of licensing on your book. You keep all the character rights. If you want to make a movie with your book, if Netflix comes calling, that's all on you. But as far as publishing rights, we would hold on to, taking a little bit off of publishing. And that would only be for the books that you wrote and sold us. If you say, hey, we don't want to work with you anymore and we want to do more books, I'd say, yep, you do your own thing.
Now, so basically that would be, you'd be reprinting the book that had been crowdfunded.
Yeah. And we would print them as like if they did, like we have a 48-page book. If they wanted to, we would split it up into 224s, make them floppies. It would be after, like I said, we wouldn't have anything to do with their Indiegogo's. I don't want to pull Red Rooster or whatever, where, you know,
Right.
where their backers, as far as I'm concerned, the backers are the most important thing. So we're not going to have anything to do with anybody's Indiegogo's. They would fund their own book. They would do it. And maybe we get to, and hopefully we get to a point where we can say, hey, I have an idea. Maybe I hire a writer, hire an artist, and our company puts it together. And maybe we do something like that. In which case, you know, every contract would be different. But that's kind of off in the future. Right now, we want to work on getting our own books done and building a good reputation with customers.
Sure. I've been expecting somewhere along the line that after all this crowdfunding, you know, this is my book. This is my one book. I am the publishing writer, artist, and everything. I've been expecting someone to come up with imprints and say, okay, we're going to like bring multiple books in, and they'll all be under this roof. And it looks like you're one of the people that's starting to do that, or lay the foundation for that.
Yeah, that's exactly. We'd like to lay the foundation. I want to run it like a business. I mean, it's cool. Comic books are art and story and all that. I want to also, there has to be a business aspect if you want to keep it going. If you want to make money, you have to make money if you want to keep doing it. And that's kind of my thing. If it's not making any money, if it's just eating out of your wallet, then as great as it is, I mean, it makes it a lot harder to continue doing it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cautionary tales out there about running a business of comics and it not making it. Probably the most illustrative one being the Mark Alessi and CrossGen. Want to take that as a case study for what not to do when doing a business. And he was making money, I thought, because he was putting out good product. But
yeah, and like I said, we want to start small and build from, once we get the comics published, we'll do the Indiegogo, and then we'll see, and then maybe we'll do the first 3 books and then decide, okay, now we've got essentially 6 issues that we can put out as, maybe we'll call it something else. It'll be the same story, but maybe we'll do it one overarching arc and have a 6-issue, floppy that people can get, as opposed to getting the big books and paying a little extra.
That makes sense. How'd you come up with the name for your company? I mean, what was the brainstorming session on that one?
Were you like watching TV in the 80s?
If you're going to put a bottle of McCormick Spice next to this label.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's basically where I remember watching that show Hardcastle and McCormick when I was a kid with my dad. Right. And I watching it now, it doesn't really hold up as well as it did, but I still enjoyed watching it. But for whatever reason, it just seemed like a cool name for the company. And then we could get a castle logo on it, and it's a nice, pretty cool logo.
Okay, so it was just a nostalgic reference to a TV show you used to watch. Yeah, that was the first thing that popped in my head when I saw it. I was like, Hardcastle and McCormick. Yeah, because I'm old. So.
But it's also got like a cool name. It's a Hardcastle. It sounds kind of badass,
Yeah, and it's a cool looking design. It's a nice symmetrical design too. You got the 2 towers. You could
it's in the H shape.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the H shape for Hardcastle.
Yeah, we got. I can't remember the name of the guy who did it. It was the guy that did what's his name's books? Completely escapes me. He did Jawbreakers. He helped us out with that. We had a basic design already, and then I was like, you know what, this really needs tweaking. So I gave him a shout. And I gave him what our design was, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "Yeah, this is what I could do for you," and he came up with that for us.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was just talking with Brian about this, is that the whole indie market is different from the mainstream in that everyone's building each other up. They're helping each other out. It could have been, in the mainstream, they could look at it and say, if I help this person out, then they could possibly sell books that I'm not selling and take away my customers. Indie sees it totally different. They're like, yes, let's promote more indie artists so that more people are buying comics, so there are more people buying my comics.
Yeah. And then what's nice is, like, like you said, it's a nice little community, and everybody's cool to work with. And as long as you're paying cash and he does good work, I'm totally happy. I'm totally happy with what we have.
Yeah. It's the new way of doing comics, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about, when people talk about how the comics industry is dying, I don't think they really mean that, you know, the art form is dying. It's gonna shift. We could lose DC and Marvel tomorrow, and honestly, I wouldn't care anymore. And I'm a huge DC Comics fan. I love those characters. Grew up on them.
I'm pretty sure my favorite character is the Punisher, and I'm pretty sure that Marvel's going to phase him out. They're going to permanently kill him or do something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after that, I like Spider-Man and all that, but if they phase out the Punisher, Marvel's got nothing for me.
Well, you can't wear a Punisher T-shirt anymore unless you sign a EULA when you buy the shirt.
I'd love to see them enforce that.
I hereby promise
wear mine.
I will not wear this shirt to protest. I will not invade capitals. I will not.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not shoot fleeing felons. But all right, so I'm running up against a wall now where I'm trying to think more about your actual book here. Or well, let's just talk about comics that you've done before, because you got into this for a reason. What made you decide that comics was your way of expressing art before you did Oddity? I know you did Oddity first.
All right, Oddity is my first. It'll be my first published comic. But basically, I was a comic collector all through high school. And then when I left high school, my priorities changed. Every once in a while, I'd pick up a book here and there. And then one day I was at work and I was on YouTube, and a Your Boy Zach video came up. And I was like, oh, comics. Yeah, I like comics. I haven't collected in years, and I really liked what he had to say when he was just walking around with his phone, filming his feet, in his car. And I was really, liked what he had to say. And he was talking about Ironheart and some of these other books, and he was explaining, this is what it is, all the woke stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I think I could do better than that. I think I could write a comic better than what I'm seeing. So I that's when I jumped on Twitter, and I started, basically the reason I jumped on Twitter was to make contacts and meet artists, meet other writers. And I wrote a little four-page short comic that was drawn by Canales.
Yeah, eBay.
Yeah, I'm cool with Canales too. He did a little 4-pager for me, a little 4-page kind of horror, almost Twilight Zone type thing, and I really liked that. One of the first guys I met was a guy named Paul. He goes by ZZombie13 on Twitter. And he put out a tweet, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody that just has a 5-page script I can draw." And I was like, "Hey, I got something for you." And I had a different one. We called it Cyberlinks, and it was about this chick in armor, full like metal armor, and it's just a scene where this girl goes jogging, typical. The guys go to mug her or whatever, and she jumps in and saves her and does the hero thing, and then disappears when the cops show up. So it was just a little short comic, just because he wanted to kind of get his feet wet and get more practice. It turned out really good. And then we started, we had plans to do other stuff, but he had some kind of personal issues. Nothing, he's still a good guy, and I still consider him a really good friend. But we couldn't really get anything together with him. But doing that and just talking to other people, meeting other people, I ended up meeting Sweens for Oddity. I was doing my own show. I have my own YouTube show, which I haven't really done in a while, and I had him on because I was seeing that picture of Oddity that he was doing popping up on my news feed. So I invited him on. I had him on like 3 times, and then the third time, he sends me a DM, and he's like, "Hey, you want to write Oddity?" And I was like, I guess it was right after the show I did with him, and he was trashed on the show. So I was thinking, oh, he must have had a falling out, probably, when he sobers up, he'll probably get back together with his writer or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, because I really liked the character. I loved his art and that kind of stuff. So then, like, I called him a couple of days later. I sent him a DM, and he was like, I was like, hey, you still want to do this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And the way that one started is he already had 15 pages drawn. So basically, I had to re-script those pages. I told him, let's move this stuff around. Let's move this stuff around a little bit. And then I wrote a basic outline of how I think the story would go. And he looked at it, made whatever little changes he wanted, but we were both basically on board with the way the story was going. And that's how I got onto Oddity. And then this is my first book that I'm essentially completely in control of. And I wanted to learn from the lessons that we did with Oddity and with some of the other stuff I had seen. And I want to make sure, I mean, I'm obviously going to make mistakes. I'm human, but we want to try to avoid some of those mistakes. And one of the things I really wanted was a fully drawn comic before I launched.
So that's what Daughters of Vengeance is going to be. When you launch, you're going to have it fully drawn, and then it's just going to be like going through the coloring and lettering phases.
Yeah, well, and we'll probably have a few pages colored before launch, just to kind of show off.
Sure.
So what it's going to look. It's going to look like colored, but we're not going to have the full book colored until we launch. But
yep. The fact you have all the art, that helps.
Yeah, but once we launch, we'll have all the art. The whole book will be completely done as far as story and art.
So yeah, if you've got all the story and art done and you're just doing coloring and lettering, then that's perfect for doing like a 30-day with the 30-day follow-up and exactly. 30 days in demand, by which time you're starting to fulfill books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes a long way towards getting audience trust and everything.
Yeah, that's really where I look at it, as we're running a business as much as, I mean, like I said, art and story and all that kind of fun, but it's a business. And if you stick to making it a business and meeting all of the requirements and all of your obligations, then you build audience trust, and then you're going to get more customers next time. Because people are going to say like, yep, he did the book, delivered on time. We're good to go for the next book. We trust him for the next few books.
Yep. They'll come back and they'll bring people with them who weren't so sure about the first time around.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of books just track that way, second, third, fourth issue. I've interviewed some people from Kickstarter that I was tracking that kind of thing. I've got a graph. It was like, how does this work? If you fill out multiple books of the same series, I was looking specifically for issue number 3, number 4, that kind of thing. And I found, people who are on their 10th, 11th, 12th issues of books that they crowdfund, and they're getting them out like every 2 months.
Yeah.
From crowdfunding. Miskatonic High was one of them. So I was like, these guys they know they had several issues in the can before they started. Yeah. That's how they got the head start.
Yeah, that's always a good thing to have.
Always a good
have them all done up ahead of time and wind up.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna keep this one simple when we launch. I'm not gonna do a bunch of covers. We'll do one cover. We have some plans for stretch goals, but the goal is going to be colors, printing, shipping. Once all those obligations are met, as far as budget, then any extra thing we want to make sure we invest back in the company so that we can make the next book. So that might be a priority, but we're gonna come up with some stretch goals and stuff like that. We're looking at trading card type things and stuff, but like the 3D thing with Oddity, that was cool as hell, but that's super expensive too.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, I think if I were running that campaign, I'm just a hired contractor. But I love Sweens. I would never talk bad about Sweens at all. He's a good guy. And but if that were my campaign, I probably would have run the campaign and then run that one as a separate thing.
Yeah, it was risk. I mean, for my money, I don't think that on your first campaign you should have any stretch goals that can't fit into the Gemini mailer.
Yeah,
with the book. So extra pages, 8 by 10 prints. If you're gonna go into stickers, definitely get the like what your image is back there. Those should be your stickers right there. One shot, definitely as a sticker, because you know what, people can read that and they can remember that and they can Google that and find out what it is.
Yeah.
If you see it on somebody's backpack, you're like, Daughters of Vengeance, that sounds cool. What is that? Whereas if you just see the character, you don't know who it is, and it's hard to.
Yeah. We were thinking about doing a patch for Daughters of Vengeance, but and maybe we might still do it, but I think I can't imagine guys wearing Daughters of Vengeance on their jackets.
Nope. But you know what? There's plenty of. When I think about patches, the people who are calling for patches aren't the guys.
Yeah.
Shay the Red.
Oh yeah, good friend of mine.
For patches. So
yeah, I have a leather vest that needs that patch, Dave.
Yeah,
see,
I'm not doing the patches, but I think like if we do that, it might be a good way to preview and get a Retribution Brothers patch made alongside of it.
Oh yeah, definitely
promote the second book. And I know with the second, like with this one, we're going to keep it to one cover, or whatever. But with the second book, then we can have that book and throw in some extra of these ones, so people can get the full story. That's always a good idea. And then you can get your second cover. We can print it with a new cover. We can do a guest cover for Daughters of Vengeance #1 and send it out and make that a goal or one of the perks for buying Retribution Brothers.
There you go. Yeah, get your requisite Preston Acevedo cover. Everybody's got an Acevedo cover going with their campaigns as an alternate. And yeah, even the guys who get the patches, they may not put it on their jacket, but they'll give it to their girlfriend and they'll put it on their jacket.
Husbands and wives and stuff, yeah.
All right, is there you mentioned you're working on this idea in your head since high school. Are there any other story ideas outside of this motorcycles and werewolves?
I started coming up with a bunch of them. There's one, like I said, nothing I'm writing right now. We're going to focus on this book, and we'll see when I can devote, because I've got a full-time day job too. So, but when I can, I got some stories. I got one that's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons-y thing, where the lead character is total like dude bro, and he doesn't know it. In high school he was the jock, and now he's working. He's working for like a New York City, sewage or whatever, and accidentally stumbles upon a world with elves. Basically, he finds out there's elves and goblins and all kinds of this stuff. He's clueless. He has no idea, but he gets involved in it somehow by accident. He helps out what he thinks is a girl. Turns out she's an elf. And we're building that one, and that one's going to be fun. That one's got so much lore in it, though. So I got a lot. That one could easily be a really long series when we get to that one. But that one's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be like this one is going to be a little bit more serious than Oddity. Oddity was straight comedy. This one's going to be a little more serious, but I cannot help myself throwing little jokes in there. And this other one that'll come, that one's going to be not straight comedy, but it's going to be definitely more lighthearted.
Well, the funny thing about that is that, of course, he was the jock in high school, so he didn't have the preparation of being a nerd to know about elves.
That's exactly his storyline, is that he has none of that nerd stuff. He was always, Mr. Football, watching sports on TV, that kind of stuff, and, drinking beer with his buddies on weekends, and then he just kind of falls into this world that he's got no clue about. And that's kind of the dynamic for him. And then he gets, like, kind of magic power, with his power. He falls into magic. So basically, like I said, he's got no idea, and he's going to be learning it along with everybody else. And we're gonna turn everything a little bit twisted, a little bit on its head about what's going on with that kind of elfin world. Like the some of the background on the character is the elf girl that he saves is this like beautiful elf warrior. And when they go to the elf world, or with the world where all this magic comes from, she is basically trailer trash as far as in their world. She wanted to be warrior elite or whatever, but her family and everybody was their equivalent of trailer trash. So these are little background details. This book's going to be a while before this comes out, but that's one of the ideas I got bouncing around.
All right, don't lose that idea, because I know there's a lot of people like myself who are going to want to read that one. A lot of us D&D geeks that want to see some more books like that.
Yeah.
Dave, is there anything more about Daughters of Vengeance we should know about before we sign off for the night here?
Everybody go to the website, sign up for the mailing list. Every once in a while, I'm going to post. There's a blog on the site, and every once in a while, I'm going to post a background on each of the characters, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit about the lore of the werewolves, and maybe we'll get into some of the lore of the other kind of supernatural stuff that's going on.
And the website is hardcastlecomics.com. And you can see that right there on the banner that I'm not showing. There it is.
Yeah.
I threw it in the chat way earlier, but you know, sometimes the chat doesn't play when you watch playback. So it's right there. If you couldn't figure out how to spell it from just us saying Hardcastle Comics and it being right there on the logo behind Dave's head, it's right there. Just don't copy and paste. It doesn't work that way with video. Just you're gonna have to type it in, which is why I talked long enough for that to stay up that way. So, Dave, Rare Logic, appreciate you guys being here tonight. Looking forward to the book launching. When it does, we definitely want to have you back on here and kind of help boost the campaign when it's out there.
Yeah, I would say probably tentatively we're thinking May or June.
All right. Well, we hope you'll hit us back up.
All right. Thank you very much for having us on.
Be glad to have you. Thanks for coming. Everyone in the chat, appreciate you being here as well. We never have a show unless you're here to help us out. And as always, we just hope you had a blast.